All right. We'll let people funnel in here. Hi, welcome. Welcome to my green screen. I thought it'd be fun to go live at a different time. Normally I go live during the day when I'm working, but I've worked all day. And now, what's up, Skylar? Now I'm at a point where, you know what? Wrapped it up for the day. Throw in the towel. It's been a lot of work this week with getting our new program ready for release on Friday. And I said, hey, the hell, most people are on YouTube, including myself, at night. Let's go live. Let's hang out. And let's open up the floor for Q's and A's. Stephen S. was here early, said, any specific problems you would anticipate with training a 55-year-old up from a 24-inch straight leg vertical back up to a 30-inch vertical for dunking? The only problems I anticipate are your commitment level at the age you're at and where you're at kind of mindset wise. But, training for vertical is possible at any age. I think it's just about adjusting some parameters to make sure that it suits your needs and is safe and really provides you with what you want, which is to feel good and jump high, right? I think sacrificing feeling good to beat your body up like crazy to jump high, I don't think is worthwhile. Priorities change. I don't know. Maybe you're trying to be a pro dunker at 55. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. But no problems. We train a lot of people of mature age. We call them mature athletes, and we're very good at it. So if you are interested in jumping on board, I'd recommend starting with something like one of our programs and one of our technique program that's dropping Friday, which is actually available for pre-order. We got a lot of people pre-ordered already, but be ready to go Friday. So get after it, Steve. Skylar, yeah, what up? Left, what up? Chubbs the hacker. Any NBA players who you think could run sub 1100 meter? You know what? Yeah, I imagine a few of them are probably sprinters back in the day anyway. Pulling names out of a hat, I'm not sure. I mean, if you throw some names at me, I can, speculate. But I imagine, a lot of basketball players and explosive sport athletes dabbled in track at some point. So what I did for most of my life was track, and it really lends itself to helping you be a more like elastic athlete and a much more responsive athlete. So yeah, 100%. Yo, what's up? Uni J Gup Jr. Yo, Kevin, has anyone verifiably touched over 13 feet? Presumably would need a 9-foot standing reach. I know there was speculations that Wilt Chamberlain did. I know that an old school Harlem Globetrotter, Michael? Can't remember his name now. There's been some people up there. I remember watching James White trying to touch 13, and he was close but didn't get it. And he had arguably one of the highest touches I've ever seen. So I'm not sure if that is, I haven't really searched for that, to be honest. Impressive nonetheless. For me, it's like there's been much more impressive feats of athleticism than just touching 13 feet. But I mean, if that's something you're interested in, who knows? Look into it. Let me know. FA, how many moves would you put for an athlete? How many moves would you put for an athlete in power phase with load 75 to 55? I'm not sure what the question is, to be honest. How many moves, like how many exercises would I program into a power phase with a load 75, 55? I'm not sure what you mean by load 75, 55 pounds, range. Clarify. Are 10-pound dumbbells enough for me? Jaden wants to know to do dumbbell swings if I have a 36-inch vert. No matter how high your vertical is, like, it doesn't determine what weight you should or shouldn't use. You remember that the weight or the number on a plate or a dumbbell or a kettlebell, the number is for you. Your body recognizes work, period. That's all it recognizes is stimulus. And using a 10-pound dumbbell for swings allows you to work rapid hip extension, high velocity movements. So is it enough for you? Of course, enough for me if I wanted to use it for that specific output. But it's not one of these things where you hit a certain level and you're never allowed to use a weight that's light or your body weight again. Many of our elite programs still have body weight movements programmed in because they elicit a different stimulus from your body, right? I think there's a much greater demand on different elements of the body when it's a body weight movement or some sort of variation of a movement like that. So, Muhammad's got a retracted message. What are you writing over there, Muhammad? Don't be rude. Skylar, do you think stretching and icing muscles every day is good for them? No, I don't. Skylar, absolutely, I don't think that's good for them. Number one is icing is not a long-term recovery method. Icing is a very, what we call a cute fix. It's not a cute fix like, oh, you're so cute. It's like a cute, short-term fix. Icing desensitizes an area, makes it really cold, and reduces pain. But the body's natural inflammatory processes, like the swelling and stuff that we get in our body, it's there for a reason. It's there to help incorporate that healing process. But the ice traps a lot of that waste product. It's not flushed back through that lymphatic system. So no, I wouldn't definitely not be icing every day. Our job as strength coaches and coaches is to help you feel better. And a lot of times that's through measures that aren't just numbing the pain. I mean, if a physio's told you to do that, it's pretty old school in thought process. But it's one of those things where icing's cool. If let's say you're in a tournament and you have to compete all weekend and you have multiple games, and you're sore, like using a little bit of ice on a weekend like that, that's all right. But definitely not as long-term recovery. All right, Chubbs the Hacker. What you think Rose or Westbrook could run 10? Maybe. Here's the thing is like even Westbrook and D Rose's like numbers from the combine weren't like incredibly impressive. They're very elastic, but you have to remember that like 100 requires much more than that like initial first step. Like you have to be able to kind of continue that turnover at high velocity, and there's some strength endurance there. I mean, they'd run fast, but I'm not certain either of them would run sub 11 out of the gate, to be honest. I'd like to see it. Yeah, it's fast. Sub 11 is fast, very fast. And it takes like training specifically for that event, right? Like sprinting is so dependent on a lot of the factors out of the block and the acceleration phase and understanding how to sprint. I officially began Project Pure Athlete. Elite Day 1 was dope. Quarantine, great time to work on phase 1 hypertrophy. I couldn't unfortunately do it in season. Yeah, you went after it, man. Edric Lamar bought your 9-week jump system a year or two ago again, and trying to hoping to see some results as well as win your new jump training protocol program on IG. Hey, everybody has a chance. Everybody has a chance. If you haven't already entered, or if you don't even follow us on Instagram, go follow us. And there's a giveaway we're running through Instagram for one of 3 copies of our new program. Links in the profile there. I'd love to be able just to, I wonder if I can just grab that. Let me just try to, 1 second here. Let me just try to grab the link for the new pre-order. I'll throw it in the side here. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Boom, bam, bling. Get back there. I'm going to throw it up in the chat. That's our pre-order. If you want to grab it, $39. This gets you a 12-week progressive jump technique program. We call it the missing link for a reason. This is one of those things that if you are omitting technique, it's ideally you're omitting the vehicle for expressing your vertical, right? Putting in all the work in the gym, getting strong is awesome. But if you don't know how to express that strength and power, it's just sitting in your body. It's dormant potential. So we teach you how to access that. This is why you know us. This is why we're so good at what we do is we understand jumping very, very well. So go grab that. It also comes with a free copy of the updated jump guide. And it is more than worth $39. That's for damn sure. I mean, I worked that out. $39 is cheaper than a night out at the movies with like a snack and a drink. And you're getting gains on gains on gains. You know what I'm saying? Earl the Goat Monroe touched 13 feet. I mean, a lot of these are speculations too. A lot of these like old school myths about, Wilt Chamberlain jumping up and taking a quarter off the top of the backboard and leaving 2 dimes and a nickel. They're great stories, but that's ridiculous. Oh, with a load rep max of percentage-wise power, how many exercises should be in it? Varies. You don't have to. Nothing should or shouldn't be, right? It's all stimulus based. So it really, for us, we're gonna program anywhere like into a single workout in a power phase, we'll probably have one priority lift that is, we'll have one priority lift. We'll have two probably accessory complexes. And I mean, it depends. It's too hard to like phases aren't like cut and dry. This is how you do them, right? There's so many different ways to program power, program strength, program peaking, program neural drive. That's why we make these programs and we take a lot of time to think on them. It's just not as easy as being like, oh, just do this. But you can get away with, I like cluster sets, to be honest. If you ever heard of cluster sets, it allows you to perform a lot more of your reps at really high velocity, high intensity, because you're doing them in chunks of like 2 and 3 to 4 reps and then resting for 15, 20 seconds, hitting 3 or 4 more reps. And you're doing them in kind of waves or clusters that allow you to accomplish a lot. Jeffrey, have you ever had a serious injury? How long did it take you to recover and get back into serious jump training? So I've never torn my ACL. I've blown out 2 discs in my spine that actually took me out of the jump game. And until recently, I really have been even labored with things like walking. So I've been, that's probably the most serious injury I had, aside from a really bad lower leg injury back in like 2007, where I broke tib fib, 3 metatarsals. I shredded a bunch of tissue in my lateral ankle. My legs swole up super big, and actually the skin split. They call them fracture blisters. That was a good 3 to 4 months of recovery off that. It was nasty. Broke my radius at the elbow joint, which was bad. I had a frozen elbow for a while, which kind of sucked. That was from getting undercut in a basketball game. And I had a kind of just wide open outlet. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go off the glass and dunk it. And some fucking clown took my feet out and I landed right on my elbow. And I popped up to rearrange his mouth. And I felt the sharp shooting pains from my arm and gave him time to run out of the gym. All right. The question is, I don't have a trap bar. Can I replace trap bar with a normal barbell during my PPLE workouts? Yeah, you can replace trap bar with a normal barbell. You can do heavier dumbbell deadlifts. You can, if you have farmer handles, there are a lot of options for just getting the stimulus like that. Yeah, you utilize what you have, right? Everything's a tool. Trap bar is a great little tool to have, but if you don't, it's all good. All good in the hood. I got titanium rod in my tibia. Nice. Can I robo leg? Can I still improve my vertical jump and follow your training guide? Yes, 100%. Obviously, recover. If it's brand new, you got to make sure you recover and then slowly progress into your training. What about icing and heating back and forth? Like contrast work. Again, it's like short term. The best thing recovery-wise, obviously, is depending on what you're just talking about, icing and heating. I don't even know what part of your body you're talking about and how long ago it happened and what happened. So again, there are many, many details involved in how to recover from an injury, right? When someone's like, should I do this? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know your injury. I don't know the extent of your injury. Skylar, who's the best athlete you've seen personally? I've seen so many amazing athletes from many different sports. Like the best overall athlete I've ever met. Who's the best overall athlete I've ever met? I mean, I don't even think I can pick one. I'm trying to think off the top who is just a freaky athlete all over. I mean, a lot of the pro dunkers, like the high, I know all of them. So, I mean, they're all freaky just in general. Track and field, the world of track and field, a lot of like world-class long jumpers and decathletes. I competed in a high-level track and field for a long time. My training partner is a Commonwealth Games decathlon champion and a freak athlete. He's like 6'3", 225. He had like a 40-some-odd inch vertical. He could throw, he could run, he could sprint, he could jump. Lot of really freaky athletes. Highest jump I've ever seen measured in person was Jordan's from dunk camp last year at just under 50 inches. Trying to think. I mean, Jay Clark, the jumper, is a freaky athlete. Like he is in all rights, like should be illegal. Like he is so talented at so many things and he's very coordinated. Yeah, a lot of really great athletes, man. Why is it that all of these old stories make these guys seem like gods of athletes, but when we see footage, it's so underwhelming? What guys are you talking about, Chubbs? Tell me about the guys who seem like gods but are underwhelming. I'd like to know names, and then I'll provide context because I've been around for a while. So let me provide context to that. Hello, Anildot Bubby. I'm new here. Hey, welcome. You're not new anymore. Now I know your name. I don't know what it's like. Anildot. I don't know. That's it. Jaden's like, subscribe, dude. Become part of the team. Dunking question. RB wants to know, as a former pro dunker, can you give a few examples of which dunks that come to mind that requires more vertical to execute? Great question. Yeah, like just sheer vertical wise. I'm trying to think. I mean, off the top, like the ones that require the most vertical are the ones that require like just reaching really high for the ball, like chasing a really high lob is off sheer vertical, obviously, or off a full approach requires a lot of vertical. The ones that don't require very much vertical that people think they do are like jumping over people, like over and then reverse pump, like the double up X over the chair. Like you get so much push off that. It's a cheat. Like there are so many guys that I've seen do dunks over people that I've met and dunked with that can barely dunk a ball normally. So there's a lot of like ways to cheat. For me, the one dunk that made me jump the highest was off the glass. Anything off the glass largely will make you jump very high because what it does is it forces you to stay very tall because the ball's coming at you and forced to get up real high. I used to do a really nasty off the glass slingshot, and I throw the ball off the glass so hard. My goal was like, you got to get it off sharp enough that it rockets back into your hand. And I always jumped, head near rim at rim on those dunks. So, Andrew wants to know, why not try to increase strength, speed, power at the same time? It becomes difficult to elicit a physiological training effect in multiple energy systems like that. So you can, the reason that you do them in phases is it creates a lot of adaptation and allows it to build and kind of transition phase to phase. But I mean, you can just do general fitness training. I would argue that like someone like a CrossFitter is probably going to try to hit them all at the same time, but realistically, like doing things in phases has a different neurological effect on the body. Jit, I'm a D1 player. How do you make the NBA? You keep after it. If you're a D1 player, you know that it takes a lot of hard work and determination to get where you're even at right now. And of the people that are in the D1 sport world, a small little fraction of those people make the NBA, but it's one of those things where you just got to keep going and understand that you're really the byproduct of the efforts you put in, right? So you can wish all you want, but you got to go after it. Good luck. Philip, hey, first of all, your videos are pretty good. Thanks. Like when someone says, oh, you're pretty good. No, I got you. And I enjoy watching you. As for question, I just started training 3 months ago. My main problem is weak jump. How can I improve besides squats and run? Well, squats and run are just like a little fart in the wind when it comes to training. I would recommend grabbing something that gives you structure where you don't have to do the thinking. You're like, I'm just going to put the work in day by day. Number 2 is recognizing how much of a process training for your jump is. It's not a week, a month grind. It is a year grind that takes the best jumpers in the world multiple years to get to the point where you know who they are. Give you some context, right? I jumped my whole life. I've been jumping since I was a kid. I was obsessed with jumping my whole life. And the highest I ever jumped was like 27 years old. So it took me a long time. And I'm talking like my whole life revolved for multiple years around me being the best athlete possible. I ate as perfect as I could. I slept slept perfectly. I got therapy multiple times a week. I was, rarely missed a training session. I was studying, jumping and dunking and everything I could in my spare time. And even then, right, I got to a very high level, but I did have some, gifts out of the gate. I was a pretty natural athlete. And then once I started training and understanding how to do that, it just skyrocketed from there. So to be the peak of the peak of the peak, it takes kind of a perfect blend, a cornucopia. We'll use that because we're around American Thanksgiving. Shout out US in the house. But yeah, it takes a lot. Logan, I'm a teen right now and not sure how I can increase my vertical. Well, you start. Again, and I think I'm answering probably a lot of people's questions below. So don't just wait for me to answer your question. Listen, right? Everything I'm saying right now, I'm going to drop as many bombs as possible in this live chat to kind of give perspective. I'm not a coach that's going to come in here and say, here's this magic thing and here's the secret sauce. And it doesn't work like that. I'm so real when it comes to working with athletes. I want to give perspective, because I think when you have your perspective is misplaced, it kind of affects the way in which you train negatively. So you have to, your focus is in the future. You have little short-term goals, and those short-term goals for me always look like consistency and trying to like hit very, very manageable hurdles, right? You're trying to hit manageable hurdles that keeps you moving, keeps it turning over. Because at the end of the day, it's the people that are going to put in the most consistent work that are going to make the gains, you know. Damn, that's a lot of injuries. I used your program around 2 years ago and increased my vertical around 37 inches touch rim. Hey, let's go. Jeffrey, grab some more stuff. We got great programs still. And this answers the next question. Ready? Jaber. Jaber wants to know if I've ever thought about creating a program for jumpers to increase their jump. Well, Jaber, welcome to Project Pure Athlete, where not only have I created a program for jumpers, but I've created multiple programs for jumpers in multiple sports for multiple years. And we traveled around the world helping athletes and coaches become better in this space. So welcome. You're hanging out with me in my garage, home garage office. This is a green screen behind me. We have a gym out here that I'd show you, but I just worked out and it's dirty. I'm not showing you my dirty gym. You've seen content. You've seen it. Jaden wants to know. No, let's go up. I've gone too far. ANH. See what's up. ANH. Hi. I'm a middle blocker in volleyball. How should I train? You should train like every other athlete in volleyball. The difference is you play a different position. Specifically for your position, obviously you're likely not covering a ton of space and a lot of your movements are linear. However, you still need to learn how to, number one, become stronger, more stable so you can convert energy and waste less energy. And number two is going to be technique on jumping, as well as your attacks to be crisp and crispy, Bill Bixby. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where, you know, I'm training a volleyball player likely very similar no matter who I'm getting in. Now, that being said, if I get like a libero in, I might prioritize certain things over a left side, right side, middle. But yeah, you're start, train, and see results and analyze and assess and pivot and move forward. And it, you know what I mean? It's, I hesitate to say do this exact thing. You just start. We can really, I'm going to say it, we can really fuck ourselves up by overanalyzing things, which is funny coming from a guy who analyzes things for a living. But what I'm getting at is it's like you get bombarded with so much information now. Like, I don't know how y'all do it. As young athletes now, I don't know how you do it. Growing up, first of all, there's no social media, nothing like that. It was like magazines and you just kind of figured stuff out. So it's like, I feel like I figured a lot of things out to take it off your plate so that all you could focus on is like, just do some work, and we provide the work. You invest a little bit of your money. It's not a lot at all. And you just make gains. But yeah, you got many people telling you to do many things. I'm telling you to step back, breathe, take a second, and realize that there are many tools for the same job. Just start, just do something. Brett, how much higher do you need to jump on average to get a two-hand dunk? From a one-hand dunk, I'd say a couple inches. It's technical. A lot of dunking is really dunk technique, and that's why it's so important to work low rim when you're learning how to dunk. Because the skill, one second, eyelash. Come on now. But yeah, working technique for dunking is important, right? Jumping's a skill, dunking's a skill, two separate skills. Just because you jump high doesn't forward you the right to be able to dunk all the time. I've met plenty of people with crazy bounce who are garbage dunkers. And I've met many people who don't jump that high that have great hands and can dunk really well. So practice. There's this PGF performance video where Jamal Harris touched 12.2 and got a 52-inch vert, I think. Yeah, Yeah, I've seen that video, and Jamal Harris is a freaky athlete and a great athlete to watch. He was a phenomenal athlete, and Paul was lucky enough to get him in the gym and test with him. So, really impressive jump. Him and Riley Smith both had really impressive tests. Does jump technique change with the ball in your hand? So the principles don't change. The only thing that changes is the movement of the arms, but the principle of that arm swing stays the same. So that ball, we actually have two really good videos on this channel about jumping and dunking with the ball in your hand. One on one hand and one on two, or sorry, one off of 1 foot and one off 2 foot. So yeah, go check those out. They're in our video library somewhere. Great videos. They'll explain it. Which we got here. Oversized. Hey, I'd like to know how to train putting the center of mass a bit more in the front instead of backwards when I jump. Well, you want your center of mass not to be very far in the front when you jump. And the reason you don't want your center of mass too far forward is, well, it doesn't give your lower body enough time to store and release energy. What ends up happening is if your center of mass is too far forward in your jump, when you actually jump forward and not up. So you need to keep that center of mass slightly behind your feet contacts and transition that speed through nice and smooth. That's what this new technique program is all about. It's all about teaching you how to optimize your jumping so that you can use all the strength and speed that you have. That's why people oftentimes jump 1 to 6 inches higher with jump technique and proper implementation. It's really understanding that it's not just about position, it's also about jumping behaviors. We teach you all about that in the new program. So go freaking buy it and get better at jumping. Best exercise for jumper knee without stopping with training. Veljko. We have this on our channel already. We got a great video on jumper's knee. It tells you all about how to rehabilitate jumper's knee. And it really comes down to load and velocity management, which means understanding that when you have jumper's knee and an inflammation of that patellar tendon, it's angry at you. It's like, hey, give me a break. Give me a little bit of a break. But then you need to start increasing the capacity, which means how much work that tendon can do. Because when you jump, it's so explosive that you lengthen the muscles and the tendons so violently that if the tendon's threshold for energy is low, you're going to blow that up every single time. So you need to increase the capacity and the threshold of it's a fun word to say, threshold of the patellar tendon over time. But we have a great video on that. Do you think that jogging on rest days could help recover faster? Movement's a great recovery tool in itself. So a little bit of jogging never hurts. Just make sure that you pay attention to how your body feels. Logan, I play volleyball, by the way. High five for volleyball. Whammo. I love volleyball. Will jump rope help with vertical? Jump rope's a great little tool to use as part of your routine. And I every now and then like to use it in a bit of a warm up, but just jump roping and hoping your vertical will go up. It might a little bit, but then it won't. I get it, Josh. You can keep asking it, but I've seen it. Josh, Jaden, Andrew McFly once said that if you can touch the rim with 2 hands, you can dunk with 1 hand. Maybe for some people. And again, it comes down to individual athletes, right? I think it's important to keep in mind that when you're getting advice from your favorite athletes, that you're getting advice from their perspective. And the difference is that we not only have our own perspective, but we have the perspective of thousands of athletes that we've worked with. So we've seen a lot of variables in play. And the big kind of consistency across the board is that it's so vastly different from person to person. But I mean, if you can touch the rim with 2 hands, yeah, I think if you're able to extend that right arm and time the lob perfectly, then you very well could, dunk with 1 hand. Okay, what do we got here? Sorry, I just got a text from my wife who's inside the house right now. Okay, Felipe wants to know about how to periodize plyometric training. Typically is when you're introducing plyometrics to the equation, you're going to do variations of plyos that, again, help you manage velocity and load, which means that, jumps where you have a landing under control are great to start, and because it helps you prioritize the deceleration phase of the jump, and then you're progressing into things that become more continuous so that you can withstand that kind of contract, relax, after you've built up the capacity of your tendons. So you have to also build up stability in the joints too, right? When you do plyos and you haven't had sufficient strength work and you have, say, a hitch in your chain somewhere, it just it exacerbates it. It makes it bigger. You start to like bleed tons of energy through that area and you start to make the problem bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm gonna get it. Got it. You little man. Okay. Sorry, let me write back to her really quick. Super excited you're all hanging out with me right now. This is a lot of fun. And one second here. More questions. I'm going to get down there. I promise. I promise. I promise. Okay. What do we have here? I saw, can you talk in Spanish? Hola. No, I don't know. I definitely can't. But I appreciate you being here. If you're from Spain, I've been there. I love Spain. It was our favorite place to go when we went on our honeymoon. We love Spain. Beautiful and beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful place. RB dunking question. How much technique revolves around performing majority of the common dunks? Is there a misconception about dunking you'd like to dispel to the layperson? The misconception about dunking is that dunks that look easy to the layperson are usually a byproduct of thousands of hours worth of work. So a good dunker will make dunks look easy, but they're not easy. And another, I think something to dispel is that when you see a dunk mix, when you see stuff go up in an athlete in a session banging dunks, like for the 10 dunks that you see, there's probably 40 that they missed. Most dunkers. You miss a lot to make a lot. Got to put a lot of reps in. But there's lots and lots of misconceptions, I think, about dunking. And I'm not sure right off the bat. I think if you ask some specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. I've dunked for many years. I've dunked many courts. I've dunked in many body fat percentages and weights. And I've dunked with many different basketballs and people and, yeah, heights of net. What are the best sources to learn about plyos? Books, Instagram. I don't know the best source to learn about plyos. It's funny, like I'm trying to think of like a piece of literature that just jumps out to me. Maybe it's too late here. Maybe I'm just like, I'm brain farting right now. This is the thing too, is like, if I don't know something off the gut, I'm not going to make it up for you. You can definitely learn a lot from our channel. There's a lot of content up there about plyometrics. I think one of the misconceptions about plyometrics is that you need a ton of them in your program to be able to jump higher. If you're in a sport that has jumping involved in it, you're doing a lot of plyometric effort. Even jogging, even like running is still plyometric in nature. It's higher speed, contract, relax of muscles and tendons. It's plyo, it's power. How does, never mind. What do you eat before workout? Depends. I work out in the morning, so I don't normally eat anything before I work out. I usually have coffee and water, hit a workout, then I have a shake afterwards. Some people like to work out later in the day, and as such, you just eat normally. I usually like to have food in my body at least a couple hours prior to working out if I'm planning on working out later in the day, just to help it digest properly. I'm not putting a ton of protein in my body, like a big clunk of protein, because it takes so long to break down. So, yeah, it depends. Depends on what you're doing that day. And I think it's just about really developing a consistent eating eating schedule. That's the most important thing. What are the why trap bar deadlift over instead of normal or sumo? It's not. I wouldn't say over. I think that the correlation of a trap bar deadlift to strictly to vertical jumping is a little bit more straightforward. The load, the way the load's distributed, right, is right down the pipe, right down your center of mass. So when you move a barbell, when you move a trap bar, you're moving a trap bar as an extension of your load versus an external load or a load more anteriorly placed in front of the body, like a barbell, which requires a lot more like low back and posterior chain. And when you jump, yes, there's posterior chain involvement, but there's a lot of anterior chain involvement, and there's a lot of control and management of the center of mass, which I think happens more so with that trap bar. So realistically, like they all do wonderful things to help make you stronger. I think it's just you have to think about position through a movement, and then what that does neurologically in terms of patterning as an athlete. Hope that makes sense. How does lifting help on jumping? I got a friend that constantly tells me not to lift because my career will be over in less than 2 years from getting injured. That's actually like quite the opposite. Like there are some people that can go their whole life and not lift and jump a bit. But again, like you have to think how many people are there. There are outliers, which there are genetic kind of outliers. Lifting helps build resiliency and durability in the body. I was talking to my sister-in-law about this today. Why do my knees always hurt? So your knees hurt because it's a lot of bone and cartilage working to stabilize your body, and there's not a lot of muscle built up in and around the joints. And when you build muscle in and around the joints, build stronger muscles, what you do is you build a network that doesn't rely quite as much on the sheer skeleton or cartilage or just the supportive structures, right? It helps with the locomotive process. It also helps distribute stress from the body. So where a lot of stress will go into things like your tendons and your cartilage and your knees and your bones and when you have stronger muscles that are able to facilitate the movement better, you eliminate the chance of injury, or at least dramatically reduce the chance of injury over time. So there's a difference. He's probably talking about like bodybuilding and getting heavy, right? You have to remain athletic when you lift. I think the biggest issue with athletes is thinking, okay, at a lift to jump higher, then you get stuck in the gym and you become a gym rat, and you're like, why can't I jump? I'm not jumping as high as I was jumping before. Now I'm lifting. Well, it's like, yeah, you're heavier now. You're moving slower. You still have to maintain that athletic stimulus. So lift, be an athlete, and over time, it pays off. Trust me. Best stretches for many people support that lifting doesn't help 1-foot jumpers. Well, many people are wrong. Again, it's some people, right? It's irresponsible to overgeneralize stuff like that. Like 1-foot jumpers don't need to lift because I met a 1-foot jumper that doesn't lift, right? Oh, don't lift because it'll kill your jumping. I once knew this guy. It's always this story, right? I knew this guy, my neighbor's buddy. Fuck off, right? Like there's proven sports science evidence to show the effects of strength training on supporting athletes' functionality at the end of the day. So I say, don't listen to your friends. Go to the professionals. Go to people who do it for a living and get paid to do it for a living. It's the reason why you call a plumber when your toilets fucking overflow, right? You don't sit there and go, I don't know. My neighbor's friend told me that you just leave it and the poop will go away. Like, sorry, I'm getting a little bit silly now, but you know what I mean? Like I get frustrated sometimes, and these live forums are fun to be able to be real with y'all. And nothing. It's all love. It's all love. Why is it that some days you feel bouncy and other days you feel dead? Good question. Nervous system. Right? Your nervous system is largely controlled by stress, meaning that not only how much you work out can affect how sensitive your nervous system is and how quickly it allows you to contract your muscles, but things like stress, meaning like, hey, what's going on in your day, your work, your school, your relationships, your sleep, your nutrition, all of these things affect your body, which is why it's very common to see athletes jump high on one day and few inches lower on the next day. And if you're trying to jump your high, you're never going to be able to jump your highest every single time. It just doesn't work like that. Same reason that you're never going to be your strongest all the time. A lot of factors have to align. That's why things like peaking for events and exist, because it's really about optimizing the body, right? Josh, please stop spamming. You will get, left nose. Hi, man. You're the best. Best exercises for shoulder strength in volleyball. More rotator cuff strengthening, I think, is very appropriate for volleyball athletes. Things like Cuban presses and internal, external rotations, loaded overhead carries, bottoms up kettlebell pressing, things that strengthen the deep shoulder capsule itself, the rotator cuff, the thing that holds the ball in the socket and makes it function properly, right? Like just slapping a whole bunch of meaty delts on top doesn't do as much as actually working the deep tissue that controls the shoulder. Okay, Josh, Ty, yeah, hi. Could jumping with dumbbells be an alternative to trap bar? Absolutely. Jumping with any load can be an alternative to jumping with a trap bar. Jumping with something on your shoulders can be a substitute for that as well. It's really just how do you load the skeleton. Do you think building mass is going to bother a body of a volleyball opposite? I think that putting too much mass on the body will affect the functionality of any athlete at any level. Meaning, like, it depends, like what you're doing. If your sport revolves around having a lot of body mass, then it'd be great. But with jumping, it's a delicate balance, right? It's a delicate balance of relative strength, which is how strong you are for your size, and then optimizing your composition. So being lean enough that you are not carrying excess, but at the same time not being so lean that your energy levels and your muscle gets broken down. So this is why it's like, again, athlete to athlete, that will look different. I've known athletes that jump really well at 6% body fat, and others that jump better at 10 and 11% body fat. I was one that jumped a little bit better at a higher percent body fat, kind of in that 9 to 11 range, where Coach Chase, the other half, is 6 to 8% body fat. It's body types as well. Chandra, hey, my club practice just got canceled for 4 weeks. What can I do to continue to work on my volleyball skills until practice continues? Well, the volleyball skills, your passing skills, your serving skills are going to have to be at your discretion. So if you have a volleyball, just working hands. I used to just work hands in my basement. I used to lay on my back and just pass. I used to pass off a wall as best you can. When it comes down to 4 weeks off, I think it opens up some really cool opportunities for you as an athlete, meaning that now you have 4 weeks where you are really wide open to kind of do what you want. I'd be looking at getting some work in with jump technique and a little bit of strength and power work in that 4 week block. So when you head back in, you're elevated. We have a lot of great products for that here. I'll repost the pre-order for our brand new technique program. Get it. It's worth it. Trust me. RB dunking question. I love RB dropping the dunking question. I love that. From what you've seen through your time as a trainer, when a person is training to get their first dunk, what specific dunk do they usually hit as a beginner? Normally a one-hander off like a alley-oop, right? Someone puts it like just above the rim and they kind of squash it in there. That's probably the most common first dunk ever. My first dunk was in 10th grade gym class, and I was kind of famous for doing self-bounce passes when I was dunking, even professionally. I would run in and kind of bounce the ball as I moved, and then I would transition into a whole bunch of different dunks. But I started doing that in the beginning of high school. My dad actually got his first dunk like that and taught me how to do it in the backyard one day. And my first dunk was actually right foot left-handed because I was a right foot jumper. So yeah, it's one of those things where it can vary. I've known some people that randomly got crazy dunks on their first dunk, and because they never really tried dunking before. Do you recommend for beginners spiker to practice hand movements more or leg movements? Both, because in order to play volleyball, you need both your arms and your legs. I can dunk, but I can't dunk consistently. Any tips? Practice more. Dunk on low rims more, and practice more. Is like such an underwhelming answer, right? I think people are like, just tell me the thing. Like, what's the thing that you've been not telling people? Like anything else, right? It's like, oh, I'm a pretty good singer, but I want to be a better singer. What can I do? It's like, well, practice singing more, right? I'm a pretty good cook, but I need to be better. What do? You practice cooking, right? You've heard of the mastery rule, where it's like 10,000 hours worth of repetition to become a master of something. I mean, it's probably more in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, just keep going after it. Keep going after it. You're in a good spot. Surround yourself. There's a good one. Surround yourself with like-minded people. When you surround yourself with people that are trying to achieve similar things to you, you elevate the environment around you, and it makes it a little bit more rich with motivation. Alan. I'm dealing with lower back injury, doing physical therapy drills, slowly getting better. I was wondering, Coach, do you have any tips on how to know when your body is ready to work out again? I think, with lower back injury, I can assume, like, is it a disc injury? If so, what? And then where are you in your rehabilitation? I'm only saying that because I'm obviously coming through a double disc herniation as well. And it took me quite a while, but you can work out with an injury regardless. I think it's just understanding what the mechanism of injury you have is and what aggravates it. So you can work within ranges that are comfortable for you and just work with it with loads that are not facilitating any more pain. But just mindful movement, right? So do you suggest adding, let me just get a sip of water here. Woo! Hydrate. Hydrate. Let me see here. Left. So you suggest add 1 or 2 dunk sessions in the week while doing PPA elite strength phase and need some athletic activities in order to, yeah, 100%. Don't get stuck into the gym all the time, right? Dunkers dunk, jumpers jump. And no matter when you're working out, you should always get a few reps. That's why I always recommend people do jump technique work in conjunction with their strength training, because the jump technique work allows you to be athletic, but it's not always full jump efforts. It's teaching you to move through the jumping positions and shapes with controlled behaviors and controlled body movements so that you don't hurt yourself. So if you haven't already, get the program, get the new program. Chandra, thanks for the advice. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome, dude. Good luck. And yeah, it's a process. It always will be, but you're doing wonderful. The fact that you're here asking questions shows that you want to change. You want to be better. Does puberty increase your vert? Sure. Testosterone, baby. Height, body hair, right? You get like hornier and you want to like impress people because you're like so much testosterone. And girls, same thing. It makes you an adult and you have the strength. Yeah, you turn into an adult a little bit more, and your vert does go up. What do you think about Zion's body and jumping? Zion's got a great body. No, he's a big boy, and force production wise, he is like a Mack truck. He's like a deep freezer with legs. Well, it's been a long day. My voice is like, and he's heavy, but he's. Oh, of course, like there'll be genetic factors in play for sure, but he also works exceptionally hard. You don't just become a 270 or 280 pound guy with a 40 plus inch vertical just because like he's put in work. Yeah, and he's technically very efficient. Maybe sprints, PPA, home elite, track and field exercises before lifting. Sure, we've got a lot of really great little track exercises built into home elite. So yeah, get them done. Stay bouncy, stay elastic, stay energized. So for the new jump program, do you have to lift weights along with the program, or you can rely only on the program by itself? I recommend that you do it in conjunction with strength training. This is a jump technique program. We call it the missing link because it's like if you look at jump training as like a pie. Let's go with pie. I was going to use cake, but we use pie, right? As a piece of pie, and we want the full or like a 360 approach, we'll call it. Without jump technique, you're missing a big piece of that pie because jump technique's your efficiency. It's I call it the vehicle, right? It's like I always think about it like you're in the weight room building like your engine. You're building your power, right? The power comes from the engine. When you want to slap a real strong engine in a car that can handle that so it can go its fastest, right? So if you slap a really strong engine in a kind of a shoddy car, you could damage the car. The car doesn't handle the engine all that well. It doesn't go as fast. I'm using a lot of car analogies here. But if you have a really good car to go along with your really strong engine, then your car goes faster. So with the body, it's like you are super powerful and strong from all this strength training you're doing. Well, the jump technique is the vehicle to express that. It's how efficient you can be. It's the positions and shapes so you can produce and transfer all the energy. It's why when you increase technique and the efficiency, you jump higher. You know? Okay, Joshua, stretches for back pain. It really depends on what back pain means. Back pain is very general. I have no idea what part of your back, what causes it, what makes it worse. Stretching pain isn't always a great idea, right? Like if you have pain in part of your back, let's say your upper back is feeling pain. A lot of times, like in the inside of the shoulder blade, people complain about pain there. It's like, feels like a knot. And they're like, oh, I just want to stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. A lot of times what happens is that area is already stretched out. That's why it's inflamed. So if you stretch out a stretched out muscle, it's like if I was holding on to two cars and they were driving in opposite directions, I'm like, oh my God, it's tight. I need to relieve the pain, drive faster away from me. Like now that I'm trying to hold on for dear life. So that's kind of what happens with tight muscles at times. Is oftentimes it's about releasing a different part of the body to give that area a chance to relax because it's overworking. You know what I'm saying? Which video about training your channel you recommend for beginners? There's lots of great stuff back there. For if you're brand new to the world of training, I think I should just make like a video on like jump training, like 101, like where to start. That's a good piece of content right there. Yeah, good call. But I would recommend grabbing up one of our kind of beginner programs, and that way you don't have to ask any questions. You just do what it says, and you'll make strides. Is having a strong core a key component to jumping? Of course it is. Of course it is. Why would you ask that? Of course it is. Yeah, strong core is really important for controlling the hips and the spine and stabilizing, again, and transferring energy, producing energy. You have to think about it like this. If I'm like running really fast, right, I have all this potential. We call it potential kinetic energy. It's like I'm running, I'm producing kinetic energy, but my goal is like to jump, right? I want to get off the ground. So I'm like, okay, I'll run really fast and I'll use the speed to jump with. Now my goal is, how do I redirect all this speed to go up, right? I need to have, number one, I need to produce force downward. I also need to make a break so that I don't keep going this way. I need to provide some sort of braking mechanism. And I need to lose as little speed as possible so that the approach makes sense, or else why did I even run, right? I think one of the key common mistakes we see with new jumpers is like, boom, and then it's like jump, stop, squat, jump, and then the run meant nothing. That's why, again, technique becomes so important. So a core, again, facilitates a lot of energy, which means that it's responsible for like not only stabilizing energy, but producing energy as well. So if your core is weak, you can really leak a lot of energy through this area, where in reality, if it was stronger, it would be able to take the potential energy and convert it into usable energy. You know. Thanks, coach. Not a disc, but a muscle injury, having mobility problems with rotation, mostly feeling pain when trying to extend on my penultimate step as long as possible. Well, that's one of these things too, Alan. Keep in mind that, extending the penultimate as far as you possibly can, again, is not necessarily what you need to be doing. And that's why this technique program is so good, because it clarifies a lot of things about technique that people misinterpret or feel like they have to do to this like crazy standard when you don't even have the strength or stability requirements to support it. The Penultimate Stride, and I'm only telling you this because I literally just finished updating our jump guide, and I was writing all about the Penultimate Stride. Looks different in different athletes, but the principles are the exact same. Number one is going to be, it either is helping to create more acceleration or help the athlete not lose any acceleration, right? Depends on what type of jumping athlete you are. If you're a strength-based jumper, means that you're an athlete that moves a bit slower and you require a bit more time on the ground to be able to get that force into the ground and jump up, then your penultimate stride will likely be a little bit more exaggerated, and you'll use the stride to accelerate more. Excuse me. The water is right there. Okay, good. Use the penultimate stride to accelerate a little bit more readily than if you were, say, an elastic jumper. I was an elastic jumper. I'm still an elastic jumper, but when I was jumping my highest, I had a very fast approach, and my penultimate looked a little bit less exaggerated, a little bit more like a walking stride, but I definitely still covered distance and I didn't slow down. So it's really about helping you lower your center of mass. So if you're hurting yourself extending really far through that penultimate, you're pushing too hard for your current levels. Joe Collins. What's up, Joe? Hey, coach, big fan of your content. My question is, I am super lean, 18 years old. Like I can see the striations on my shoulders. Is that like a weird flex? And veins stuff. Do you think I would benefit from more body fat? It really comes down to your energy levels and whether or not they feel like they've depleted. If you're naturally quite lean, you have a little bit more of that like ectomorphic structure, or perhaps mesomorphic structure, just very vascular and just very low body fat, then really it's about you're just trying to add usable lean mass. And the likelihood is if you're that lean, it's going to be very difficult for you to put body fat on. So as long as you're not like your joints are not overly sore and your energy levels aren't super low, it's likely that you're probably in a good spot. I just work on obviously increasing lean mass just to have more usable force to produce. But there's a balancing act there, right? So there's diminishing returns. So stay athletic, keep lifting, and find a program that helps you progress over time. So. Tony, weird question. Well, let's see how weird this is. What was the worst mistake that volleyball player do that pissed the coach off? Tony. Well, I'm not a volleyball coach, right? I'm a strength coach and a vertical jump expert, but I'm not sure how to answer that question. I don't know. What have you known of something? Let me know if you know of something. What was your weekly program back to your elite dunking days? How often did you dunk? How often were you losing low-level plyos? When I was in my prime, I was in the weight room 4 times a week. And that type of work varied, right? I think I usually kept a few primary lifts almost year round. I did a lot of straight bar deadlifting, but I would vary the load and speed at which I moved it and the height at which I moved it from. Straight bar deads. I did a lot of single leg RDLs and I'm trying to think and single leg like Bulgarian split squats. And again, I would just play around with load management and things like that. From jumping and dunking perspective, I had 1 session a week on a 10-foot rim, and I had 1 session a week on a low rim. In my weight room sessions, I very rarely had many plyos because I jumped so much on my dunk days. My 10-foot session days, I warmed up. I had some kind of introductory jumps just to kind of get warm. I had probably 25 to 35 full approach jumps, somewhere in that range. And then I kind of wind down from there. My low rim days were very kind of like sub-maximal jumps, right? They were just bouncy, working on hand speed and technique. But I came from the world of track and field where we sprinted and jumped like daily. So I had very, very responsive tendons and muscles. I was very like dense athlete, very tight already. I was wound pretty well. So I didn't have to do a lot of extra jumping personally, but I've seen that vary depending on the athlete. So holy crap. The questions are coming in faster than I can keep up with them. I'm sorry. Is it necessary to prioritize the forefoot when doing the block? I'm not sure about this. Read on Instagram. You read that on Instagram. Yeah. So, prioritizing the forefoot, the application of the block foot happens through the ball of the foot and the inside edge of the block foot. But prioritizing that in terms of training it, if you're training well-rounded, then you're going to get the training for the block foot through jumping, through prioritizing your jumping. I got injured in lower back from spiking. The pain started slowly. I couldn't jump and barely walk. It's getting better now. I'm afraid of spiking because the pain can return like last time. It's very, very common to get lower back pain from jumping. It's usually from landing because on landing, there's so many forces acting in your body, which is why it's important to learn how to land properly. Hey, there's landing work in our new program. So I don't know if I mentioned that before, but give it a look. And strengthening core and also your glutes to help keep the pelvis stable during those movements is very important. Joe, I work on my technique, but having dunk sessions where I practice all my approaches and film it, then I compare it to pro dunkers like Isaiah. Do you think the new program will improve my technique faster? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because taking your technique and comparing it to someone else is not always the best case scenario, because athletes jump different depending on the type of dumper or dunker they are and jumper they are. Isaiah is an incredibly elite athlete, so saying like your jump has to visually look like Isaiah's is not the way to train technique, because technique is less about how things look and more about the behaviors behind the movements. And I do a lot of explaining of this in the new program. Guys like Isaiah and Connor's certified through me, through Project Pure Athlete. Like, people come to PPA to get certified to teach jump technique better and understand it better, because that's what we do. And that's what I've done for years. And Coach Chase has done for years. At the dunk camp, I'm there and I work technique with everybody. So our principles and procedures, they're there. They're there. I'm trying to get better at saying we're the best at it. We do it the best. Come hang out with us. The more I learn, the more I think my whole body is wrecked. Well, that's very dramatic. My shoulder, both my feet, my right knee, my right hip, my hamstring, my glutes are all whack. Guess I really need to slow down. I mean, you can't shove a square peg through a round hole. So if you're trying to accomplish things and you're not addressing the problem, it could be a problem, right? They say it's like, don't try to slap a Band-Aid over a bullet wound, right? You got to go in, stitch it up, and heal it up from the inside. So yeah, sometimes slowing down in order to speed up is super important. That's why I have it tattooed on my body. Hey, in Spanish, by the way, on my leg when I was in Spain. But yeah, you absolutely do need to step back and gain perspective and put in the work to fortify your body. I'd recommend starting with our knee repair program. It's a very good program for the entire body and building stability and strength and confidence in movement. Again, this is all on projectpureathlete.com in our shop, and all of our programs are between $9 and $39, and they're good. They're very good, and they over deliver. Okay, I'm coming down here, Alan. Shit. Okay, dunking question. RB wants to know: would you consider creating technical videos on how to execute certain dunks? Funny you say that. Yeah, myself and Coach Chase have talked about that. And I think we would put together an exceptionally good dunk technique program in conjunction with likely Chuck Milan of Team Flight Brothers, who Chase and Chuck are NBA dunk coaches. They're the only ones in the world. They've worked with all the past champions in the last 5 years. So yeah. And obviously, I've done these dunks. So I would love to make a dunk technique program. It'd be awesome. Would you guys like a dunk technique program? Sorry, not trying to flex, just friends and family always saying too little. I got you, man. Joe, it's not, no, you're not flexing. I was just being a dummy. RB, that's the best question I've ever seen. Look at that. Look at that. It's very helpful. I did not think about that way. Thanks, Coach. Can't wait for the program tomorrow. Also have a bonus question. What's the best dunk you've ever seen in real life? Best dunk I've ever seen in real life. I've seen, there's difference between best and then my favorites. I've dunked with Jordan many times, and I've seen Jordan dunk many times in person. So I've seen all of his dunks. T-Dub, Guy Dupuis. I mean, when he went at Venice Beach, when he went around the back over the middle of the car from the free throw line, it was outrageous. What else have I seen that's really impressive? I mean, I've seen so many impressive dunks in my time. I'm trying to pull one out of the vault that I find to be the most impressive. It's picking my favorite dunk is like trying to pick a favorite child. It's I mean, secretly we all have a favorite child when you're a parent. Don't tell anybody. Okay. But yeah, I've seen lots of great dunks. Lots and lots of great dunks. I've seen people put their whole head over the rim and dunk so hard that you get sore from watching it. It's sick. Vertical question. RB, I like how you quantify your question. I love that. It's amazing. RB wants to know vertical question. How much does excess weight affect one's approach vertical jump? Will you share with us your past experience on dunking with extra body fat percentage? For me, like dunking with extra body fat was never a concern because I didn't know really what it felt like either way. Like I've been this low. I did fitness modeling back when I was like early 20s. I got on stage at like 4.9% body fat at one point, and I dunked probably 2 weeks prior to that. And I was very sore because I depleted so much body fat. I just felt achy and tired. But for me, dunking with like 10, 12% body fat, like put it this way, I've like East Bayed at 185 pounds and as heavy as 225 pounds. So for me, it was the difference is the effort of getting off the ground. It was really like when I was really heavy, it just felt harder. So it's finding that comfort, right? It's finding that comfort level for you as an athlete where you perform your jumps feel pretty effortless, but your energy feels high, and it doesn't, you don't have to sacrifice tons of like the way you eat. Like you can kind of eat when you're hungry and you just eat good food. You don't have to deplete anything, sleeping well. It was one of those things where my experience with dunking with higher body fat was I jumped 48 inches with 11% body fat and feeling pretty good. I was never like super shredded when I was a dunker. I've been shredded at times, but I was always like, I kind of looked like I was meant to be like a baseball player probably, or like a hockey player. I always used to get made fun of. People like, man, like you should be a hockey player. You're some sick, 6'1", 200, and right now I'm 215, 220. That's like a prototypical like NHL average hockey player right there. Okay, if you know the player, Kyle Insing, yeah, from the U.S. team. Yesterday, he had a match against the team he plays with, Maccabi, but I didn't play because I'm still injured. Lower back kills, man. I can completely relate, man. Like I 100% understand having that lower back pain. When you have tight muscles in your lower, like you obviously have some muscular spasms. It's probably going to be, unraveling a little bit of tightness in your hip flexors, your psoas muscle, which kind of runs from the back to the front of the hip, strengthening glutes and strengthening your core to offset some of the pressure in your lower back. It's very common for jumping athletes to experience what's called lower cross syndrome. Lower cross syndrome is essentially, if you were to look at the body from the side. So if like we looked at the body from this way, lower cross is where, so if the back is sore, right, it's usually that the back and the hip flexors are tight and the core and the glutes are weak, forms like an X through the body. So if you can kind of compensate and change that little bit of offset, you can usually alleviate some of that pain. So I feel for you, man. All right, taking a couple more questions here because I got to go say goodnight to my son. How to increase Vert in 2 months. Don't put a timer on it. Just go to work, and your results will come when you're not fixated on the amount of time. Because what's the point of why 2 months, right? Just it'll continue going up over time, right? Train for more than that Instagram post. Do you think that an athlete or person that starts taking part in sports during sophomore high school has a chance at an athletic career, professional sport they choose? Of course, everybody has a chance at everything. I think that the people that are the most successful in life are the ones that, no matter what the circumstances, are like, I'm gonna do it. And not everyone does, but I think that's the starting point. Good luck. Hugh, my area just went into complete lockdown on the side, and the side of my wrist and my elbow started hurting. Damn, that seems like a weird correlation, but I feel for you, man. I really do. I hope you're doing well. Okay, last question. I noticed during my approach that when I go to my penultimate stride, my legs are too straight when I go off toe off my ankle. To fix this. If you're not, like, if you're kind of blowing through the end of your jump because you're too tall, you're going to work shorter approaches and work things called push punch drill that are part of our new technique program. I just recommend you grab it. It's just going to teach you how to do all this stuff. It's going to give you an excellent progression of drills that'll build you and build your efficiency, and you will jump higher. That you can take to the bank. Okay, last dunking question. Does being able to graze the bottom of the rim with one hand at 5'10", 220 a positive indicator that one can train their vert up to the first dunk, or is that wishful thinking? No, man. And what's wrong with wishful thinking, right? Just don't. like it shouldn't remain wishful, right? Like wishful thinking is good. Just let it cause you to make a positive move and positive change forward. All right. Hey, I had an awesome time. Hope you did. Let's post this one more time. If you haven't already, go pre-order our technique program. It comes out Friday. It's $39. Grab your copy now. You'll get an email on Friday with a copy of it and free copy of the jump guide 2.0 in there. And this is a surefire way to add inches to your vertical. It will happen because it's the missing link. And if you're not doing technique, you're leaving inches on the table. Much love to everybody. Hope you enjoyed this green background and this rambling Canadian boy. Appreciate all of you very much. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. And there was one last thing. Oh, yeah. COVID high five. I made the sound effect. All right. See you later.